That's what I think is exactly what's happening here. Although Faker
มาเลยอะเฟเกอร์อา
I
ซี
was
ยา
thinking maybe Pyongyang grabs the
แต่มีเกวนอยู่
but
แต่
now
เขา
they can take
ปล่อย
the Gwen themselves. Will Doran be able to
มีนา
play
ฟิลลี่
the
เกวน
rumble
นะ
into
มี
it
นาฟิลลี่
though
เกวน
is the question we have to ask.
เจส
This
แบนไป
year,
แล้ว
but Doran there's kind of a saying that
แต่ถ้า
even
เป็น
the
เฉา
most
เกวนก็คอมโบ
expensive
เลย
and
คอมโบแบบอัน
most
ติแล้วก็
powerful
W เกวน
tool is not useful in the hands of an amateur, but to take the Xinjiao away from owner feels like a huge win, but they decide not to go
ถ้า
for
แร
it.
มมัดก็คือ
Look at the Fury here instead. Strap looking very interesting here
ไม่มี
for
ภาพแน่นอน
the
แรมมัด
DN Freaks. This just allows owner to say, well, think into the
อุ้ย
Gwen.
ลัมโบ
So,
ลัม
well, it
โบ
looks
มัน
like a
สู้ได้
risk
หรอ
here taken by the first pick Azir. I feel like with the Fury
say
lock,
it
it
paid
feels
off.
fine.
Lambo
Yeah, it
สู้
feels
ได้เหรอ
totally
วะ
fine here now.
น้อง
See what they want to go for in this mid position. We've seen so much in the Fury Ahri, but
ลัมโบโดนเกว
Yeah,
น
I
นะ
mean, you are going to have a fair bit of damage coming
แต่ว่า
out of the
ถ้าเล่น
Fury
ช่ำอยู่
just in
ก็
general.
ไม่เป็นไร
Berserker is also then going to be on an 80 carry, so I think you're
Oriana
okay for physical. The Oriana hasn't really worked so
คอมโบ
far.
กับนาฟิลี่
yeah, this
พุ่งเข้า
pick
ไป
is,
พร้อมกัน
has
ติ
a lot of synergy with Nefiri, of course, because she's a great ball Israel here, given
ช้อยเดียว
the
คือ
Fury
ซาย่า
and the Gwen and the space you can buy.
ราคาซาย่า แต่
But
พี่
it's
ว่า
just
เขาน่า
not
จะ
a
ตัด
pick
รา
that
คา
he
ก่อน
normally does go towards.
Yep.
ไหม
See if he decides to change
พี่
that
คิด
up
ว่าเขา
today
ตัด
or
รา
not.
คา
This final ban is
เขาเลย
really
แบนป๊อป
interesting
ปี้
here because you already have the Varus gone, maybe an Ash ban. They'll take the Ezreal
อ่ะ
away
เขาน่าจะ
from
ตัดราคา
Berserker.
ปะ
And
งั้
now
น
we
เจอ
just
ราคา
hope
ซา
that
ย่า
Berserker
แน่นอน
doesn't play something like a Corki, which we've seen him.
Been as a tier list support. It feels like the most
ราคาซาย่าปะ
the most safe blindable support here. And it will just be
like
the Zaya
a
Rakan.
billion miles away.
We knew this was likely, right? It's super Tristana. I'm not sure about that.
Hey.
But
ไหว
this
ไหม
draft
ที
can
วัน
be quite explosive if it can get an early lead and you can start
see
getting
what
the
you did there.
ปัญหา
resets.
คือเขาเอาอลิสตามาดัน
explosive and she's got
มาเตะ
that
ราคา
explosive
แล้วเนี่ย
charge. I like
มัน
that.
ก็อาจ
There's
จะ
also
ยากหน่อย
a
เพราะว่า
rebel on
รา
the
คา
other
เป็น
side, so
ตัว
there's
ที่
even
เปิดหมูตัว
explosiveness.
เดียวอ่ะ
This was actually
คือ
one of the
อาเซีย
picks
มัน
into Zaya back in the day. You know,
ถ้าไม่ใช่
people
คือ
used to pick
แต่เป็น
Tristana
เฟกเกอร์
into it.
เนาะ
Of course, you
อาเซีย
can
ก็อาจจะทำได้
with the drawer bead passive scale in a Fury and says we'll accept this 2v2 if it does happen. You can see Dudu having to play very carefully here underneath this turret though, and if they do manage to put him behind early on, this could be an absolute disaster. Ward goes in, spots out owner immediately. He's not going to be able to clear this one out just yet. Still committing to a potential dive though.
Yeah, Dudu of course needs to stack his Q. Doesn't have any stacks right now.
Oh man, this could be really problematic. Let's see how he does manage to do this as Doran actually taking the turret, has to flash to get out of the way, and Dudu has survived for now. But now it's going to be Ona starting this one off. Can he actually tank this effectively? The answer is no.
โอเนอร์ไม่แฟด
Well, it ended up working out. Flashless or no, the exhaust gets a ton of value, forces Doran to flash. They get the trade here of kills. A kill going over the Gwen. One
ทดสอบสังคมอีกแล้ว
It's not going to be that snowball you were talking about that would have been disastrous. As we might be seeing one down here if this doesn't change as they do swap the really nice
เสียเวลาไม่พอแบบไม่ได้กำไร
to make
ต่าง
sure
หาก
they at least get something
แถม
out of
เสีย
all that
แบบ
time
แฟดไป
spent on
ของ
the top
โด
side
รานอีก
jungle. Pyoshik just spent the time power farming, finds himself ahead on farm, but didn't get any sort of cross map action.
Yeah, extra work to put him down.
กำลังจะหาละหา
Teleport
เฉา
is on
ละ
cooldown for him though, and Doran
จะแก๊ง
does
เฉา
still
เว้ย
have his.
เดี๋ยวเฉาเดินก็ไปตรงหมาให้โดนแล้วอ่ะ
He's hiding in this brush. He does have normal flash here. Faker's pretty far up in the lane.
ไม่มันจะแก๊งโอเนอร์ไม่มีใครรู้มันจะแก๊งโอเนอร์แล้วมันจะเอาลิฟต์
Going for it.
ไม่เอาลิฟต์เอา
There's the
กลับ
shockwave, just throws it down where he can. Head up hole. In from life as Pyoshik's coming on over. They get the flash out from Ona. Didn't have to use it on that top side of the map. In fact, probably could have perhaps saved his life as there's a flash out from Pyoshik as well. He's level 5. Another pulverize comes in as Gumayushi in trouble once again. Charges on in the rocket jump from Berserker. Gumayushi in trouble. There's the battle dance. We've got the flash through from Pyongyang and Pyoshik takes down Guma. Headbutt to push Carrier back as well.
จะถามตัวแล้วเฟกเกอร์ขอรับหน่อยเฟกเกอร์รับหน่อยขอร้องว่ายจริงเฟกเกอร์รับหน่อยเฟกเกอร์รับด้วย
Looks like Pyoshik gonna let his former teammates survive and will back away. But man, DNF.
This is
finding some angles.
This is the exact kind of way you want to be played. We'll hold that thought until the replay here, as we are going to have a bit of a contest from owner. Yep. One grub did, of course, go over to Pyoshik.
ชอบคิดว่าแบบได้2 กรัมก็คือสุดยอดตลอดเลยในหัวชอบคิดว่าได้2 กรัมได้1 แต้มแล้วแต่นั่นมันคือแผนปัจจุบัน
I think he did actually have his flash available, but just didn't want to take unnecessary damage. As
Doran
life is everywhere on this map right now. The needlework coming on in is now Doran. He throws down the equalizer, but it equals nothing, ladies and gentlemen. He's on the floor, and Dudu is now in the lead in the matchup.
A lot of side lane pressure. The Tristana as well. Two champions that can destroy turrets incredibly quickly. So a very
ดู
valuable
จากฟอร์ม
exchange
ทีวัน
here
แล้วแบบ
for
ไป
T1.
MSI ยากมากเลย
Being able to get the dragons,
ไม่
though,
ยาก
I
จริง
think
เลย
pretty important here for DNF.
พวกกลับไป MSI แบบ
a win condition with this composition that which
แย่
does
แม่ง
lack a
5%ลิง
little
อะ
bit of range. Yes, they've got DPS for
ถ้าฟอร์ม
days
ตอนเนี้ย
in team fights.
มัน
But
ยากมากเลย
I
ต้อง
think
ต้องแบบ
DNF
ต้อง
do have tools to try and keep
ทำยังไงวะเนี่ย
later on in the game.
ต้องพึ่งไลออดแล้วอะต้องให้ไลออดปรับแพทอะไรสักอย่างเน้นไปที่ตัวที่แบบเฟเกอร์เล่นเก่งกับโดรานช่ำๆเลยบัฟเคทลินบัฟจินบัฟอาเซีย
2.5 minutes on the second though, and I expect that T1 are going to use their mid-game power
ต้องพึ่ง
to
ไลออดละ
lock that one down, see what the soul's going to be, and then try and utilize that going forward.
Yeah, this comp is very strong in mid-game T1s, especially with the control they have over set objective here on the blue buff.
All right, life is just getting on in there. Is Pyongyang going to get flashed on by Faker? The shockwave does connect, and now they do manage to at least go 1 for 1. Or
ช็อต
do
นี้
they
สวยแบบแต่
Pyosik
ไม่ได้
trying to get himself out of there, but
แต่ว่าโดนล้อมแล้วโดรานอยู่ไหนโดรานทีพีบนไปแล้วโดนตาย4 คนเลยไปเนี่ยต้องหาวิธีหนีเอาไว้ให้ได้อะตรงนี้ยกมาดูต้องพยายามแล้วคุโบชิสวยมากคุโบชิแฟดเข้าไปในวงแล้วแต่ไม่ไหวตาย4 ตัวแบกด้วยโดรานจะโดแบกด้วยนะไม่ไหวแล้วโดรานแต่ป้อมแรกสวยหุ้ยตีโดราน
Flash in this exchange can't get away. He thought he had the damage there to take Doran out. He loses the turret, his teleport, and his life.
No way.
One fell swoop. What looked like maybe it was
Mr.
going
D.
to be a nice turnaround there for DNF on the fight. Ends up being another kill going over to T1 in the end. At the beginning of this fight, they collapse onto Pyongyang, right? And we see a teleport come through from the Gwen. Doran does not join the fight, does not have teleport, right? So you can see that TP coming through. Pyosik is able to survive and get away, but now T1 are on the wrong side.
มันมีภาพแบบที่เราจะทุกคนจะเดินผ่านป้อมตรงกลางแล้ววิ่งไปด้านซ้ายมีภาพบอกได้บอลแชทเนี่ยเดินผ่านป้อมตรงกลางแล้วให้ใครสักคนหนึ่งแทงแล้วก็เดิน
Ended up being really huge here.
Escape ช็อตนี้คือกูมาเข้าไปแบบสวยนะแต่ว่าเกวนมันรีเลื่อนโหดมากเลยนี่ขนาดยังไม่มีลิฟต์เมเกอร์นะแต่เสียงน้องวัวแบบว่าแฟดตันแล้วดันเข้า1 ตัวตันตัวแบบตัวแทง
And Doran already has a ton of heat built up. Takes a lot of damage here from the turret, but once the turret is down here, he's like, all right, I win this auto fight. Sure, your autos are ramping, but mine ramp as well. And
โดรานหน้านิ่ง
I think
มาก
if Pyongyang didn't cancel a few of those, it could have been a little bit closer there,
หน้านิ่ง
but
เกิน
it is kind of a disaster. Like, he
มี
committed
แบบ
TP
จับภาพน้องดีว่ะ
and still lost the turret and still lost his life.
Do you know what it did, though? It kept everything exactly as
between these two as the lead has started to fall away a little bit, and with this attempt on the turret, might be T1 pulling in the lead if they can secure it.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be getting it off this one. Minions have ran away, and then the Rift Arrow will be taken down swiftly with the help of Pyosik. So T1 just getting a charge, trying to get some damage. They really do want to be able to break that one open as soon as possible. It's a composition that doesn't siege very well, right? You don't have a lot of range. You really want to be fighting around objectives, so it's about setting up for exactly that. Speaking of setup, that's what they're doing here to Dudu as over the wall goes Ona, and they look to just take down the turret immediately. The knockup does connect, and now Dudu's going to try and get in there. I don't know about that one, as Doran's already
โดรานตีก่อนลูกตีก่อน
does go down, but the equalizer positioned pretty well. Buster shot gets Carrier out of there. Life and the Featherstorm will eviscerate the Tristana. This is the kind of team fighting we wanted to see out of T1.
This is exactly what you were talking about in terms of this as Doran gets
โดรานเมื่อกี้ก็
was waiting for a while for this one.
Man,
เอา
we've
จริ
been
ง
talking about
แอบ
that
แอบ
for weeks.
เชียร์ให้อันติก่อนแล้วค่อยแบบค่อยทำทุกอย่าง
Bad matchup here for DNF into T1 in terms of their kind of be an attempted trade on Otacon. They also know they just don't frankly have the damage to do it with this 1.5 item Orianna. It's just not going to happen. So Faker's in the area will be able to defend this turret, but they were never really at any risk.
See Pyosik going a little bit aggressive here, but Carrier has the battle dance. And this is, like, actually goes on with what you were talking about earlier on. And that is, we've got Ona on Xin Zhao, Faker on Azir, and Carrier on Rakan. Like, This is T1's bread and butter with their best performing players at the moment on exactly what they want to be playing. We're starting to see that DNF not really able to do much about it as life is going to get cooked, ladies and gentlemen. Could even just be dead right now. As Carrier goes in and Fake is able to pick that one up, but they also get Berserker as well.
ตีป้อมแตกแล้วแตกแล้วแตกโอเนอร์โหดเกิน
for this Orianna as they just have to watch as their turret gets vaporized. And T1, I don't think they're going to give back any control of this game to DNF.
I don't. Dudu does have TP if they do go a little bit too deep here, T1, but Baron has spawned, and now they can just say, well, we already have all the vision we need. We don't need to chase for kills. We can force the issue any further. Dudu also doesn't have a turret he can get here. It's going to take a little bit longer for that. So I think T1 are happy to just chill and keep putting up these control wards as best as they can. Try to force an issue.
See whether DNF can actually secure their red buff. That's going to be an important thing.
เอาบัตรเลเตอร์มาแล้วก็แบบให้เฟเกอร์ได้แบบชิวๆเนาะ
Berserker trying to get these autos off, and they're not actually able to get onto him. It's Pyoshik as well. Pretty happy that he can get on target, but he's flashing away. Was lit on fire in that tiny amount of time that Carrier had available.
Guma doesn't even have to ult in this situation, and they're like, all right, well that's it. That's Baron.
Wait, he wasn't even lit on fire.
เดี๋ยวโดรานมาหน่อยไหมโดรานทีพีเลอร์สกิลดีกว่าบาลอนสำคัญมาแล้วไม่มีเปียวซิกน่าจะชิวๆจะเอาเปล่า
They decide not to because their jungler is nowhere near, and I think this is wise.
But I mean, you can't just give everything because then
เฟ
you
เกอร์
just
จะเอา
lose the game.
อีควอไลเซอร์มาอุกกอบแบบหมดแน่นอนบัตรเลเตอร์ชามไปที่เกวนก่อนเกวนไอ้ไหมดันกลับมาเฟเกอร์
And it's fight after fight after fight. T1 on top.
สู้ไม่ได้เลยฟรีแม่ง
time.
สู้ไม่ได้
And the early game feels like it's so far away.
เกือบตอนแรกมันดูลุ้นอยู่นะแต่พอแบบว่าตั้งแต่แบบโดรานมันฆ่าข้างบนไปได้ป้อม
overwhelming. It seems like for DNF they just cannot deal with it. They're not
พี่
able
ว่า
to
บูลด็อก
even
น่า
play
จะ
the
ดี
vision
กว่าปะ
juggle game. They're not able to play the red buff juggle game without
พัน
catastrophic
พ
results.
งยีออนเนี่ย
And
พ
Baker
ง
can
ยีออน
solo the Chemtech Dragon, which he will do here. And now T1
เนี่ยช่วงแรกแบบ T1 ยังตึงๆอยู่ อันนี้ก็เริ่มไหลๆแม่มีความสุขจังเลยแมนยูชนะแล้ว T1 ก็กำลังชนะเกมแรกโอ้แล้วแมนยูชนะมา 3-0 ด้วยเนาะเน้น
Does mean that now there isn't a equalizer for the next little bit of sieging. But we'll see whether T1 just try and force anyway because Owner is so incredibly scary. The wind becomes lightning on
สบายมีคีม
Pugin has his ult.
ไม่มีอะไรผิดพลาดอยู่แล้ว
Baker is level 17, so I don't think they're that concerned about it.
ฟอร์มแชมป์ MSI มาแล้ว
And it hasn't really been hitting the right targets recently anyway, as inhibitor number 1 to go down, the second one short to follow. And DNF, I mean, they didn't look like they had much of an idea in the first few fights. I don't know whether much has changed now as Pyoshik deciding to dive forward. Does get the scorch out of Doran here. Does break his arm guard, but he's very close to his Onyas, so doesn't need to worry about that one too much.
And Pyoshik, doesn't have his ult anymore either, which obviously when you compare the two, like the arm guard is more valuable in the long term, but I just don't know if there is any long term. And now T1 know that they're just like, okay, well we can keep pushing, and there's no way Pyoshik can get on top of somebody. Like even Guma's like, let me auto this Orianna. I don't care. I have flash ult, and you don't have enough Fury ult.
Yeah, and Faker and Carrier are just looking for their opportunity to scoop someone up. Carrier to get them in position, and then Faker just to finish it off as the equalizer
แล้วก็มีช็อตข้างล่างที่เบอร์เซอร์เกอร์อันติลั่นออกไปอุ้ย
connecting onto 2 but I think it's too little and it's almost definitely too
โอเนอร์
late
ไล่อยู่แต่โอเนอร์คงแล้วต้องแฟดออกมาโดนดันเข้ามาโวยชิแฟดออก
who will eventually go down. That was actually an absolutely sick play. They trade 1 for 1. DNF's base are in shambles.
They saved the top inhibitor.
เงินนำเกือบหมื่นก็ลุ้นได้
That did look pretty cool.
ผมบอกแล้วสนุกทุกช็อตไม่รู้ว่ามีใครได้ดูตานั้นไหมที่มันโดนอีกฝั่งดับป๊อปปี้มาแล้วทอมไม่ตัดสินใจดับตัวแดน5ตัวป๊อปปี้ก็ไม่รู้ว่าใช้สกิลตอนไหนทอมไม่คิดอย่างนั้นเว้ยปรากฏเล่นไม่ได้สักคนเลยเล่นไม่ได้แบบเล่นไม่ได้เลยไอ้5ตัวแม่งแดนไม่ได้เลยไม่โดนฆ่าอย่างเดียวเลยทอมแม่งแบบ Amazing แบบ ดาบ
for his team. Dudu also with Azonia's now completed. That is
จำได้เลยเฟเกอร์อาลี
goes in, finds Punyan one more time.
แล้วมีอะไรก็ไม่รู้ว่าแบบแดดทุกตัว
He has any way out. In fact, he does not. As Faker goes golden. And the red carpet is there, Life unable to walk down that one. That's a little too hot. Gets cooked anyway by Doran here. As now Ona goes in with a nice knock up onto Dudu. He has the miss down, but I still just don't think he's going to be immune. And there it goes. Pioshik on the fountain. The Sand Soldiers say you are dead. T1
ที่พูดเลยฟอร์มแชมป์ที่ MSI
in the end of a game
ไม่ต้องกังวลเลยว่าจะได้ไป MSI ไหม
Continue here in the LCK.
And a big
จอง
statement
ตั๋วไป
win
MSI
here
ทันปะวะ
from T1 bouncing back after that bro loss. They still need to win one more to take.
Look at what he is going to be piloting here in the Rise potentially. Wonder whether this is going to be a mid-jungle lock-in, of course, with the Victor face-up. You now get your opportunity to pick something into it. We've seen a lot of people take the Silas angle. Punyan not going to go for that one. This time around it will be the Rise instead. And you can see some nodding along here by Pioshik.
On one hand, I like this more than Silas because I think if you fall behind or you lose control, as we'll see Pioshik's Viego to come out. More on that later, but what I do like about this Rise is it gives you side lane power, it gives you a lot of agency even if you're behind, but it's going to require coordination to use its full potential, and that is where the Freaks have not really been at their best, as this is a flex pick of...
So I guess maybe they're assuming they're not willing to pick support Poppy, which is probably what it would be, given the fact that the support Pantheon hasn't necessarily worked out so well.
ถ้าจะเลือกเลนเนี่ยแบนเอเมซ่าทำไม
that you have here as T1, like they could make it
โอ้ย
work.
เอาเคาน์เตอร์
They're
พิ
going
ก
to
ว่า
ultimately go for Leona instead, which has a lot of synergy. I always love
give Dudu some comfort.
สวัสดีครับหลัง 25.09 LP บวกน้อยเป็นบังหรือเปล่าครับเอวาผมต่ำนะครับพอทราบไหมครับเขาเหมือนเดี๋ยวรอเขาแก้ก็ได้ครับพี่ไม่รู้เขาจะฮอตฟิกวันไหนแต่น่าจะอีกวัน2วันนี่แหละ
I like to see Doran flex a little bit.
มันไม่มีภาพแล้วนะ
Instead, Doran is just going to take a leaf out of our book and lock
ทอมมันไม่ชอบอะไรแปลกๆอะทอม
depends on who you talk to.
ถ้าแปลกมันจะแปลกทั้งทีมเลยมาแปลกคนเดียวไม่ได้ เอาจริงพี่ชอบกากัดมากกว่านะแต่ก็
Faker full health is here we go. Bit of an exchange again.
Yeah, Doran going to be losing some health bar, but of course he has a little bit of extra space, right? Because he does have his teleport still available. Probably shouldn't die right here.
No.
As the Empower does come through, Crush gets him out, but now the teleport back in from the Gnar is a lot more scary. There is a biscuit or two and a potion. You can see Dudu already going to have to go for a reset here.
If the Mega Gnar wants to interact with you like that before he can commit to this third grub here, and I don't think there's going to be any punish whatsoever on the top side. As Punyan remembered that his ultimate was not a combat ultimate,
ข้างบนโดนได้แน่
ended up losing out to Faker, but got his ult in exchange.
มาแน่เนี่ย
Yep. Dudu probably should know that there's a likely jungler towards his bottom side, as he's going to have to leap strike his way over it. All right, that'll do it. He's just fine.
Nice timing on that.
Yep, I guess he just knew that he wasn't in any danger as the Ignite already down onto Gumayushi. He's going to flash. This dive is dangerous, but still able to pick it up. Life just deciding that he's going to have to sacrifice himself. Gets another kill. And Berserker not going to be able to challenge him for that one. So that, I would say, ladies and gentlemen, is...
Yeah, on one hand, I get it, because you saw the enemy jungler on the bottom side of the map. So
มาแล้ว
there.
ออกลุนคิงเลยเคเลียเฮ้ยออกแบบนี้ดิออกแบบสายเวทอะแล้วคือ want you play God want you play God ออกลูเดนอะอันตีแบบโคตรแรง
Like he picks up the turret aggro and you know they make sure that they can still take down Gumayushi after the flash, but then
ช็อตนี้คีบตายพอดี
and then the wave is thin.
The wave is thin, so the turret is still coming in.
Faker, I mean,
you're not a champion if you're Viego and you're not a threat.
I do agree with you in terms of what Viego's supposed to
ล็อก
do,
โลบ
but nameplates on, I'm concerned.
Yeah, there's that Paperman conversation that you coined, of course. That does turn into a bit of a problematic situation. Faker dodged basically every Q.
เฮ้ยพี่รอเล่นโอ้โหโดราเอาจริงเอาจังอีกเอาวันใหญ่เลยว่ะตอนนี้
demonstrating that you know in his champion pool that he plays this season with
Victor certainly something that he is having a lot of success on. And you also just
มันต้องเล่นอย่างนี้นะมันต้องเล่นแบบมันเล่นเซฟฟาร์มไม่ได้มันคือเล่นได้แต่เฟเกอร์เล่นแบบเฟเกอร์โดนแล้วตันไม่โดนได้ไงวะเบลตายแล้วเฟกกุ้งตายแล้วเฟกกุ้งไม่ยุ่งตายแล้วขนาดเปียวซิกมันอ๋อเปียวซิกเขาเก่าแบบเฟเกอร์จะแฟนออก
out.
He may miss the flash stun.
พี่กะแล้วว่าเฟเกอร์ต้องโดนปาดแกตอนเจอฮาวาไลก็เล่นวิกเตอร์แล้วก็แบบเนี้ยกดดันเขาจนแบบโดนแกงแล้วไปยืนในพุ่มที่แบบว่าไม่มีหวาดด้วยเนี่ยพุ่มเนี้ยไม่มีหวาดแต่ยืนชิดพุ่มตัวเองเลย
They're baiting, they're setting up for something. You know, Pyosik shows up, Life shows up, and they end up getting these exchanges. Pyosik missing here gives Faker the confidence that he can flash away.
แล้วเฟเกอร์แฟดไปหาเพื่อนคิดว่าจะสวนเนี่ยปรากฏว่าเขาแบบเยอะกว่าเบอร์สเกอร์ก็มาด้วย
Using his flash on the play really important.
ไม่งั้นถ้าเกิดแฟดเข้าไปในป้อมรอดละแต่แบบเฟเกอร์จะสวน
And very at risk of a follow-up here. They have full control over this pit. Faker doesn't have his flash. I don't think he's going to come down. They're going to look for a bottom play here instead on the Dudu.
Yeah. The Nas stun into the turret, and Dudu does manage to at least get the counter-strike back as he throws down the ulti. Doran will need to pick up turret aggro, but I think that was a level up for Dudu. Look at him. Eating feeling a whole lot better, but still, he's going to get taken down. Nice little huff to get Doran out of there, and it was a good attempt with the DN Freaks.
Also a pretty fast pushing Rise as well. Will feel really happy if he's left alone in the side lane. Just ask BDD.
แต่มันบอกปิดแอดมินิเจอร์มันไม่ใช่ปิดแอดไม่รู้คืออะไร
Now the curtains have been called. Let's see how the do-si-do goes here for Berserker. Solar Flare goes wide. That's a lot of ultis going in directions that they didn't really want to go. But still, that is a lot of pressure onto the DN Freaks 80 carry. Doran still realizing that things are a little bit difficult here in the 1v1. There's the Magnus Storm. He tries to get himself out. Heartbreaker comes forward.
Oh, Doran!
Skyfall and Dudu goes
oh my god!
Doran is still alive and Pyoshik's on the wrong side of the map. A disastrous dive attempt here as Gumayushi down towards the bottom side, and the wallop will take down the Rel. And things are going wrong a little earlier this time around for the DN Freaks.
Yeah, this time, similarly to the top dive, they looked for the turret is their worst enemy, and Doran just is totally fine up there. And unlike the last time, they don't end up finding any success with their plays. Pungyan is now also 100% dead.
Yeah, the Realm Warp, an immediate Chaos Storm interruption as Pungyan realizes that he may as well try and clear the wave. And he does do that. He is surviving for quite some time, but that's another gravity field actually in the same little skirmish.
เฟกกุ้งแบบอีโว2สกิลแล้วครับน้องโอ้ตัวลาช็อตดีนี่สุดยอดแต่เปียวซิกมึงแบบเปียวซิกไม่ไหวจริงคือเปียวซิกไม่ไหวจริงอะคือแบบไม่รู้จะชมโดราไหมโดราก็แต่เปียวซิกคือแบบ
And they just felt really priced into that. I don't know if they
from Doran, and he just wants to finish this one off. But there is no wave, so he takes a turret shot for fun. And Carrier, he's going to turn up. Solar Flare doesn't connect. The Rel is in the area, but Dudu is still going down incredibly low. Good shattering strike there.
Solar Flare แบบไม่ได้
Now Pungyan having to deal with some attention on the top side as the stun comes through, and Pyoshik not going to be here in time.
เปียวซิกมาโดนตันด้วย
Elects to get himself stunned as they take down the Rise yet again.
And that's feats of strength with the turret going down bottom side here.
สบายว่ะ
You know, it's a moment you can zoom out and be like, all right, where is everyone on the map? And Pyoshik is neither defending, you know, his tech Solo Dragon to be tied and Drakes isn't really an issue for you. Now they have Prio on this Rift Herald. We'll see a teleport here from Pungyan, and this may be the last stand here, the last fight for DNF.
Yep, Life is just going to move in, already down to half health as a teleport from the Jax to deliver him to the middle of the fight. It's going to be an honest 5v5 as Faker makes his way down.
เปลี่ยนใจ
Boomerang value actually quite high there as the
ตัวอยู่นะเปียวซิกครับเปียวซิกก่อนอย่าเปียวซิกรีเซ็ตนะโอ้ไม่ตายทีโอ้โหก่อนตายท่านโดยังกันตีแบบเอาดูไปด้วยหมาผมจักทำไมมันเร็วจังวะจัดการอุ๊บ
get taken out here as Pungyan's over the wall, but instead he just flashes his way out of there. And T1, they only sacrifice Doran and they take everything.
ไม่เป็นไรครับเพื่อน
also played the fight out incredibly well. You mentioned the transformation tanked so much in the early part of the fight. No resets for breaks. Yeah, Dudu does have teleport. Pungyan has Realm Warp. And I said that last Hail Mary was going to be their last chance, but maybe there is a potential angle here. Life, no flash though to engage. This is going to be so tricky, and they're very split.
They really are. They just need to find something, some form of fight.
โดราครบแล้วว่าโดราอยากสู้อ่ะ
ผม
อยากสู้ได้ไหมเพื่อนโอ้ไม่สู้ผมก็ไม่สู้
Just left there to deal with this. Arakan very happily does so because he's under no threat.
ได้อาตาคารนะ
Was that a potential realm wall?
ที่วันดูจะแบบไม่น่ามีอะไรพลาดแล้วอ่ะ
and there's no
มัน
angle to
ทุก
get
อย่างมัน
flowers
อยู่ในมือแล้วอะ
and so petals galore here.
แต้มที่ต้องการ
level advantage for Faker in mid. This is Doran just playing back, understanding that he's the one that's under threat. He was showing on the map, and nothing that Pyosik could do. No, he's able to stop these backs with that crush nah combo. Now the Starfall comes in. Not going to be able to save this rise. Who had his flash removed earlier on, so that is just a very, very dead bald blue guy.
You see the preemptive angles there.
A wave towards the Nexus.
Faker just comes over and says, well, that's the only turret you're going to take. And, okay.
Oh, Owner has found life. There is life's kind of into that.
ทดสอบสังคมนิดหน่อย
Berserker just going to throw a bunch of autos into
1-3 มาแล้ว
does he
ล่า
just
สุด
win this?
โซล่าแฟนไม่ยังไม่โดนยังไม่โดนพวก
990 gold going over to Pyosik once again as the deadly flourish comes down.
มาแล้วครับชอบแบบนี้แล้วครับที่ทำให้เกมสนุกขึ้นไปเลย
Dudu going to soak one of them. Pyosik soaks another as he heartbreaks his way out. So that's all they're going to get. Still, I guess it's a sign.
Doran, 2 levels up.
Yeah, Pungan gonna have to at least put him in some runic prison. He does manage to do that.
Area does have ult, so he might get interested.
ต้องรอโอ้
Flash is
แต่
back
ชอบ
up
นะ
here
อันนี้
for
สวย
Pungan
อยู่
as Doran taking a lot of damage. Zenith Blade doesn't quite connect there as Carry is the one tanking, but Pungan's still dead. Oh dear, the wallets be heavy.
They certainly do, and with a very easy to set up follow-up there with the Leona tanking the turret. It's just as simple as that. And now Doran does have TP if he had to join this Baron fight. I don't think he's that interested though. I think he just wants to push this bottom wave in and start to then threaten there. As Life and Pyosik do show up, but it might be too late. Faker pulls off 4K on the Baron. I just don't think there's any in here.
Nope, and Pyosik just backs away. They see the Chaos Storm, as we also see that we are indeed floating above Runeterra. Yeah, there was no real way. The Chaos Storm came down, Pyosik's like, I can't see in the storm, so I'm going to have to leave. Teleport back down towards the bottom side. This is where Doran lives. He's got those upgraded shoes, 3 items, and like the third item for Dudu is a book. A silly little book.
I mean, the third item for Doran is a Wit's End, but it actually makes a lot of sense into the rise he's been laning into.
Yep.
And it basically just makes him immortal in team fights because he is also level 17.
Oh my goodness.
And Dudu's just, he's not really having fun.
เอาจริงๆหลายๆคนไม่รู้นะว่าแบบแจ็คดาเมจมันเป็นแบบเป็นเวทซะส่วนใหญ่คือเวทกับ AD มันพอๆกันเลยอาจจะเป็น AD สัก60มันเป็นเวทเยอะมากเลยวิดเอ็นเลยแบบตอบโจทย์
down once again. It's a very aggressive dive from Ona, who may actually get taken out here as Pyosik comes in. They do manage to get the kill on the Pantheon. The resets are starting to come in.
เงินนำ10,000นะอย่าลืมว่าตรงเนี้ยตอนเนี้ยเงินเรานำ10,000
going absolute god mode here in the back line. Life going to be taken out. The death ray, my god, combined with the curtain call. T1 just say yes, you do have a Viego, but unfortunately it's not enough.
He's dead now.
Through a team fight.
Yep, and T1 with this wave coming through should be able to slowly end this game. Berserker looking for the outplay. Oh, does not get it. That's going to be another 300 over to Doran. Pungan does manage to get that, but it is a very swift execution here by Gumayushi. And T1, 2-0 over the DN
เผื่อได้เป็น POM นะเนี่ยเอาจริง
3 games.
ใคร POM
The entire round robin, and unfortunately none of them were in the same series.
gotta be POM.
So the 0-9 has been achieved.
Yeah, the 0-9er given by Owner himself.
Oh, I
เกม2ใครชนะ T1
I tried to make it a thing. Well, it didn't really land. But Owner had a great series.
He did.
Do think T1, while this was the expected result, looking a little bit more stable than they did into Bro. And Faker had a really great series as well. Has been had ups and downs so far this year, but he did play the champs he is amazing at, and the Azir and Victor did not disappoint. I also think that